The book of Job, chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. And 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. Also, his possessions were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very large household, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the East. And his sons would go and feast in their houses, each on his appointed day, and would send and invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. So it was, when the days of feasting had run their course, that Job would send and sanctify them. And he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus Job did regularly. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come?" So Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and shuns evil?" So Satan answered the Lord and said, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not lay a hand on his person." So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Now there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing and the donkeys feeding beside them, when the Sabaeans raided them and took them away. Indeed, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another came and said, "The fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another also came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 bands, raided the camels and took them away, yes, and killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another also came and said, "Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and suddenly a great wind came from across the wilderness and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell on the young people, and they are dead. And I alone have escaped to tell you." Then Job arose, tore his robe and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all this, Job did not sin, nor charge God with wrong.
Chapter 2. One day, the heavenly beings came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" And Satan answered the Lord, "From going to and fro on the earth and from walking up and down on it." The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil. He still persists in his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him for no reason." Then Satan answered the Lord, "Skin for skin. All that people have they will give to save their lives. But stretch out your hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face." The Lord said to Satan, "Very well. He is in your power. Only spare his life." So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and inflicted loathsome sores on Job, from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. Job took a potsherd with which to scrape himself and sat among the ashes. Then his wife said to him, "Do you still persist in your integrity? Curse God and die." But he said to her, "You speak as any foolish woman would speak. Shall we receive the good at the hand of God and not receive the bad?" In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Now, when Job's 3 friends heard of all these troubles that had come upon them, each of them set out from his home. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. They met together to go and console and comfort him. When they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him. And they raised their voices and wept aloud. They tore their robes and threw dust in the air upon their heads. They sat with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great.
At last Job spoke, and he cursed on the day of his birth. He said, "Let the day of my birth be erased, and be the night I was conceived. Let that day be turned to darkness. Let it be lost, even God on high, and let no light shine on it. Let the darkness and utter gloom claim that day of its own. Let the black cloud overshadow it, and let the darkness terrify it. Let the night be blotted off on the calendar, never again to be counted among the days of the year, never again to appear among the months. Let that night be childless. Let it have no joy. Let those who are expert of cursing, who draws Leviathan curse that day. Let its morning stars remain dark. Let it hope for light, but not in vain. May it never see the morning light. Curse that day of failing to shut my mother's womb, for letting me born to see all this trouble. Why wasn't I born deaf? Why didn't I die as I came from the womb? Why I wasn't lied on my mother's lap? Why did she nurse me at her breast? I had died at birth, I would now be at peace, and I would be asleep at rest. I could rest with the world's kings and the prime minister. Those great buildings now lie in ruins. I would rest with a prince rich in gold. Those palaces were filled with silver. I could rest in the prince. I wasn't a burned like a stillborn child, but a baby who never lives to see the light. For in death the wicked curse no trouble, and the weary are at rest. Even captives are eased in the death, with no guards to curse them. Rich and poor are both there, and the slave is free from his master. Oh, why this light to be those in misery, and life to those who are bitter? They long for death and it won't come. They search for death for more eagerly than for hidden treasure. They were filled with joy when they are finally dead. I rejoice when they are find the grave. White it is life given those with no future. Those God has surrounded with difficulties. I cannot eat for signing. My groans pour out like water. What I always fear was happened to me. What I dreamed came true. I have no peace, no quietness. I have no rest. Only trouble comes.
Chapter 4. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, if one attempts a word with you, will you become weary? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Surely you have instructed many, and you have strengthened weak hands. Your words have upheld him who was stumbling, and you have strengthened the feeble knees. But now it comes upon you, and you are weary. It touches you, and you are troubled. Is not your reverence your confidence, and the integrity of your ways your hope? Remember now, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the upright where were the upright ever cut off? Even as I have seen, those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his anger they consumed. The roaring of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The old lion perishes for the lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. Now a word was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a whisper of it. In disquieting thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, fear came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones shake. Then the spirit passed before my face. The hair on my body stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes. There was silence. Then I heard a voice saying, can a mortal be more righteous than God? Can a man be more pure than his maker? If he puts no trust in his servants, if he charges his angels with error, how much more those who dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed before a moth. They are broken in pieces from morning till evening. They perish forever with no one regarding. Does not their own excellence go away? They die, even without wisdom.
Chapter 5 in Polish. Wołajże, czy ci kto odpowie i do którego ze świętych ty się zwrócisz. Zaiste zgryzota zabija bezrozumnego, a gniew uśmierca nierozsądnego. Widziałem, jak głupiec zapuszczał korzenie, lecz bez namysłu przekląłem jego mieszkanie. Synowie jego są pozbawieni pomocy. Zginą przy bramie i nikt ich nie uratuje. Tym, co on nagromadził, pożywi się głodny i ci, którzy pośród cierni szukają pożywienia. Chciwi rozgrabiają jego dobra, bo nieszczęście nie powstaje z prochu, ani cierpienie nie wyrasta z ziemi. Tak to człowiek rodzi się, by cierpiał, podobnie jak iskry by wzlatywały ku górze. Ja bym się wszakże zwrócił do Boga i Bogu przedstawiłbym moją sprawę. On czyni wszelkie i niepojęte rzeczy i cuda nieprzeliczone, które zliczyć się nie da. On ziemię deszczem zrasza i zsyła wody na uprawne pola. On poniżonych wywyższa, a udręczonym przynosi wybawienie. W niwecz obracza zamysły przebiegłych, tak aby ręce ich nie działały skutecznie. Mędrców chwyta w ich własne sidła i udaremia rady przewrotnych. W jasny dzień ogarną ich ciemności, a w pełne południe po omacku stopać będą. Bóg wybawi od ostrza ich języka i ubogiego z ręki możnego. Tak to uciśniony żyć będzie nadzieją, a niegodziwość zamknę swe usta. Jakże szczęśliwy człowiek, którego Bóg doświadcza. Nie gardź więc dopustem Wszechmogącego. On bowiem rani, ale też ranem przewiązuje. Uderza, ale i ręką swą uzdrawia. Od 6 plag cię uwolni, 7 zło ciebie nie dosięże. W czasie głodu on ciebie wybawi od śmierci, a w bitwie uderzeń miecza. On cię osłoni przed biczem języka i nie ulękniesz się klęski, gdy nadejdzie. Będzie się śmiał ze spustoszenia i głodu i nie ulękniesz się dzikiego zwierza, bo z kamieniami na polu zawrzesz przymierze i dzikie zwierzęta żyć będą z tobą w pokoju. Przekonasz się, jak bezpieczny jest twój namiot, a kiedy dom twój odwiedzisz, nie znajdziesz w nim braków. Przekonasz się, jak rozmnożą się twoje potomstwo, a latorość twoja jak trawa na polu. Stąpisz do grobów w sądziwym wieku, jak snopy zebrane w właściwym czasie. Oto wszystko, cośmy przemyśleli. Tak jest. Słuchaj tego uważnie i rozważ dla własnego dobra.
Chapter 6 in French. Job répondit, « Oh, s'il était possible de peser ma contrariété, si l'on mettait toute ma détresse sur une balance, ce serait maintenant plus pesant que le sable de la mer. Voilà pourquoi mes paroles sont inconsidérées, car les flèches du Tout-Puissant m'ont transpercé et mon esprit en boit le venin. Les effrois de Dieu s'alignent contre moi. L'âne sauvage va-t-il braire auprès de l'herbe tendre? Le bœuf mugit-il auprès de son fourrage? Peut-on manger sans sel ce qui est fade? Y a-t-il de la saveur dans le blanc d'un œuf? Ce que je refusais de toucher, c'est là ma nourriture. Si infecte soit-elle. Ah, si ma demande était exaucée, si Dieu réalisait mon espoir, que Dieu se décide à m'écraser, qu'il étende sa main et m'achève. J'aurai encore une consolation. Je sauterai de joie malgré la douleur qui n'épargne rien. Je n'aurai pas renié les paroles du Saint. Quelle est ma force pour que j'attende? Quelle sera ma fin pour que je prolonge ma vie? Ma force est-elle une pierre, celle d'une pierre? Ma chair est-elle du bronze? Ne suis-je pas sans secours? Toute ressource n'est-elle pas bannie loin de moi? Celui qui est effondré a droit à la fidélité de son compagnon, quand même il abandonnerait la crainte du Tout-Puissant. Mes frères m'ont trahi, comme un oued. comme le lit des oueds qui disparaissent. Leurs eaux sont troubles à cause de la glace. Ils sont assombris par la fonte des neiges. Au temps de la chaleur, ils tarissent. Au feu du soleil, ils se dessèchent sur place. Les caravanes dévient de leur chemin, s'enfoncent dans le chaos et disparaissent. Les caravanes de Théma les fixent du regard. Les convois de Saba les espèrent. Ils ont honte d'avoir eu confiance. Quand ils arrivent, ils rougissent. Vous non plus, maintenant, vous n'êtes plus rien. Vous voyez ma terreur et vous avez peur. Vous ai-je dit, donnez-moi quelque chose? Avec vos biens, faites des présents en ma faveur. Faites-moi échapper à l'adversaire. Libérez-moi de la main des brutes. Exposez-moi votre enseignement et je me tairai. Faites-moi comprendre en quoi je me suis égaré. Que les discours droits sont persuasifs, mais que prouvent vos critiques? Comptez-vous critiquer des paroles et lancer au vent les discours d'un désespéré? Vous tirerez au sort même un orphelin. Vous donneriez votre ami. Maintenant, décidez-vous à me regarder. Vous mentirai-je en face? Revenez, je vous en prie. Ne soyez pas injuste. Revenez encore, ma justice est là. Y a-t-il de l'injustice sur ma langue? Mon palais ne sait-il pas discerner la détresse?
Chapter 7. A time of hard service for man on earth. Are not his days also like the days of a hired man? Like a servant who earnestly desires the shade, and like a hired man who eagerly looks for his wages. So have been allotted months of fertility, and wearisome nights have been appointed to me. When I lie down, I say, when shall I rise, and the night be ended? For I have had my fill of tossing till dawn. My flesh is caked with worms and dust. My skin is cracked and breaks out afresh. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and are spent without hope. Oh, remember that my life is a breath. My eye will never again see good. The eye of him who sees me will see me no more. While your eyes are upon me, I shall no longer be. As the cloud disappears and vanishes away, so he who goes down to the grave does not come up. He shall never return to his house, nor shall his place know him anymore. Therefore, I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I a sea or a sea serpent, that you set a guard over me? When I say my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaints, then you scare me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that my soul chooses strangling and death rather than my body. I loot my life. I will not live forever. Let me alone, for my days are but a breath. What is man that you should exalt him, that you should set your heart on him, that you should visit him every morning and test him every moment? How long will you not look away from me and let me alone till I swallow my saliva? Have I sinned? What have I done to you, O watcher of men? Why have you set me as your target, so that I am a burden to myself? Why then do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For now I will lie down in the dust, and you will seek me diligently, or I will no longer be.
Job 8. How can you keep on talking like this? You're talking nonsense, a noisy nonsense like that. Does God mess up? Does God Almighty ever get things backward? It's plain that your children sinned against him. Otherwise, why would God have punished them? Here's what you must do, and don't put it off any longer. Get down on your knees before God Almighty. If you're as innocent and upright as you say, it's not too late. He'll come running. He'll set everything right again, re-establish your fortunes. Even though you're not much right now, you'll end up better than ever. Put the question to our ancestors. Study what they have learned from their ancestors. For we're newcomers at this. with a lot to learn and not too long to learn it. So why not let the ancients teach you, tell you what's what, instruct you in what they knew from experience? Can mighty pine trees grow tall without soil? Can luscious tomatoes flourish without water? Blossoming flowers look beautiful before they're cut or picked, but without soil or water, they wither more quickly than grass. That's what happens to all who forget God. All their hopes come to nothing. They hang their life from one thin thread. They hitch their fate to a spider's web. One jiggle and the thread breaks. One jab and the web collapses. Or they're like weeds springing up in the sunshine, invading the garden, spreading everywhere, overtaking the flowers, getting a foothold even in the rocks. But when the gardener rips them out by the roots, the garden doesn't miss them one bit. The sooner the godless are gone, the better. Then good plants can grow in their place. There's no way that God will reject a good person, and there's no way he'll help a bad one. God will let you laugh again. You'll raise the roof with shouts of joy. With your enemies thoroughly discredited, the house of cards collapsed.
Chapter 9. Yes, I've heard all that before, but how can a man win his case against God? How can anyone argue with him? He can ask 1,000 questions that no one could ever answer. God is so wise and powerful. No man can stand up against him. Without warning, he moves mountains, and in anger, he destroys them. God sends earthquake and shakes the ground. He rocks the pillars that support the earth. He can keep the sun from rising and the stars from shining at night. No one helped God spread out the heavens or trample the sea monsters back. God hung the stars in the sky, the Great Bear, Orion, the Pleiades, and the stars of the south. We cannot understand the great things he does, and to his miracle there is no end. God passes by, but I cannot see him. He takes what he wants, and no one can stop him. No one dares ask him, "What are you doing?" God's anger is constant. He crushed his enemies who helped Rahab, the sea monster, oppose him. So, how can I find words to answer God? Though I am innocent, all I can do is beg for mercy from God, my judge. Yet, even then, if he lets me speak, I can't believe he would listen to me. He sends storms to batter and bruise me without any reason at all. He won't let me get my breath. He has filled my life with bitterness. Should I try force? Try force on God? Should I take him to court? Could anyone make him go? I am innocent and faithful, but my words sound guilty, and everything I say seems to condemn me. I am innocent, but I no longer care. I am sick of living. Nothing matters, innocent or guilty. God would destroy us. When an innocent man suddenly dies, God laughs. God gave the world to the wicked. He made all the judges blind. And if God didn't do it, who did? My days race by, not one of them good. My life passes like the swiftest boat, as fast as an eagle sweeping down on a rabbit. If I smile and try to forget my pain, all my suffering comes back to haunt me. I know that God does hold me guilty. Since I am held guilty, why should I bother? No soap can wash away my sins. God throws me into a pit of filth, and even my clothes are ashamed of me. If God were human, I could answer him. I could go to court to decide our quarrel, but there is no one to step between us, no one to judge both God and me. Stop punishing me, God. Keep your terrors away. I am not afraid. I am going to talk because I know my own heart.
Chapter 10. I loathe my life. I will give free utterance to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul. I will say to God, do not condemn me. Let me know why you contend against me. Does it seem good to you to oppress, to despise the work of your hands, and favor the designs of the wicked? Have your eyes of flesh? Do you see as a man sees? Are your days as the days of man, or your years as a man's years? That you seek out my iniquity and search for my sin. Although you know I am not guilty and there is none to deliver out of your hands fashioned and made me, and now you have destroyed me altogether. Remember that you have made me like clay, and you will return me to the dust. Did you not pour me out like milk and curdle me like cheese? You clothed me with skin and flesh and knit me together with bones and sinews. You have granted me life and steadfast love, and your care has preserved my spirit. Yet these things you hid in your heart. I know that this was your purpose. If I sin, you watch me, and do not acquit me of my iniquity. If I am guilty, woe to me. If I am in the right, I cannot lift up my head, for I am filled with disgrace and look on my affliction. And were my head lifted up, you would hunt me like a lion and again work wonders against me. You renew your witness against me and increase your vexation towards me. You bring fresh troops against me. Why did you bring me out from the womb? Would that I had died before any eye had seen me, and were as though I had not been, carried from the womb to the grave. Are not my days few? Then cease and leave me alone, that I may find a little cheer. Before I go, and I shall not return, to the land of darkness and deep shadow, the land of gloom, like thick darkness, like deep shadow without any order, where light is as thick as darkness.
Chapter 11. Then answered Zophar, the Naamite, and said, should not the multitude of words be answered? And should a man full of talk be justified? Should thy lies make men hold their peace? And when thou mockest, shall no man make thee ashamed? For thou hast said, my doctrine is pure, and I am clean in thine eyes. But all that God would speak and open his lips against thee, and that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that God exacted of thee less than thine iniquity deserveth. Canst thou by searching find out God? Canst thou find out the Almighty unto perfection? It is as high as heaven. What canst thou do? Deeper than hell. What canst thou know? The measure thereof is longer than the earth and broader than the sea. If he cut off and shut up or gather together, then who can hinder him? For he knoweth vain men, he seeth wickedness also. Will he not then consider it? For vain man would be wise, though man be born like a wild ass colt. If thou prepare thine heart and stretch out thine hands toward him, if iniquity be in thine hand, put it far away, and let not wickedness dwell in thy tabernacles. For then shalt thou lift up thy face without spot? Yea, thou shalt be steadfast, and shalt not fear. Because thou shalt forget thy misery, and remember it as waters that pass away. And thine age shall be clearer than the noonday. Thou shalt shine forth, thou shalt be as the morning. And thou shalt be secure, because there is hope. Yea, thou shalt dig about thee, and thou shalt take thy rest in safety. Also, thou shalt lie down, and none shall make thee afraid. Yea, many shall make suit unto thee. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall not escape, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost.
Then Job replied, doubtless you are the only people who matter, and wisdom will die with you. But I have a mind as well as you. I am not inferior to you. Who does not know all these things? I have become a laughingstock to my friends. Though I called on God and he answered me, a mere laughingstock, the righteous and blameless. Those who are at ease have contempt for misfortune, as the fate of those whose feet are sleeping. The tents of Morandas are undisturbed, and those who provoke God are secure. Those God has in his hands. But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds in the sky, and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you. Or let the fish in the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature, and the breath of all mankind. Does not the air taste words, as the tongue tastes food? Is not wisdom found among the aged? Does not long life bring understanding? To God belongs wisdom and power. Counsel and understanding are his. What he tears down cannot be rebuilt. Those he imprisons cannot be released. If he hold back the waters, there is drought. If he lets them loose, they devastate the land. To him belongs strength and insight. Both deceived and deceiver are his. He leads rulers away stripped and makes fools of judges. He takes off the shackles put on by kings and ties a loincloth around their waists. He leads priests away stripped and overthrows officials long established. He silences the lips of trusted advisors and takes away the discernment of elders. He pours contempt on nobles and disarms the mighty. He reveals the deep things of darkness and brings utter darkness into the light. He makes nations great and destroys them. He enlarges nations and disperses them. He deprives the leaders of the earth of their reason. He makes them wander in trackless ways. They grope in darkness with no light. He makes them stagger like drunkards.
Chapter 13. Behold, my eye has seen all this, my ear has heard and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you. But I will speak to the Almighty, and I desire to reason with God. But you, forgers of lies, you are all worthless physicians. Oh, that you would be silent, and it would be your wisdom. Now hear my reasoning, and heed the pleadings of my lips. Will you speak wickedly for God and talk deceitfully for him? Will you show partiality for him? Will you contend for God? Will it be well when he searches you out? Or can you mock him as one mocks a man? He will surely rebuke you if you secretly show partiality. Will not his excellence make you afraid, and the dread of him fall upon you? Your platitudes are proverbs of ashes. Your defenses are defenses of clay. Hold your peace with me and let me speak. Then let come on me what may. Why do I take my flesh in my teeth and put my life in my hands? Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Even so, I will defend my own ways before him. He also shall be my salvation, for a hypocrite could not come before him. Listen carefully to my speech and to my declaration with your ears. See now, I have prepared my case and know that I shall be vindicated. Who is he who will contend with me? If now I hold my tongue, I perish. Only two things do not do to me, then I will not hide myself from you. Withdraw your hands far from me, and let not the dread of you make me afraid. Then call, and I will answer, or let me speak, then you respond to me. How many are my iniquities and my sins? Make me know my transgression and my sin. Why do you hide your face and regard me as your enemy? Will you frighten a leaf driven to and fro? And will you pursue dry stubble? For you write bitter things against me and make me inherit the iniquities of my youth. You put my feet in the stocks and watch closely all my paths. You set a limit for the soles of my feet. Man decays like a rotten thing, like a garment that is moth-eaten.
Chapter 14 in the Luo language. Dano mat dako nyolo, dalone nok, kendo okoneno, chandok matot. Odongo pio pio, kamaua, bangeto oner. Manakak katipo makado ma oksiki. Ngat machal kamano, bende inyalo deo, bende dikele enyimi adier, monde iyale. En ngama nyalo gima ler kogolo kuom gima ochido. Onge kata chiel. Ndalo dhano nosekwan chon. Isechano karom dwechene. Kendo iseketo gikone ma ok nyal kalo. Omiyo gol wang'i kuome kendo weye mos mondo ocham yie luche gi mor kaka ng'ama ondik timo. Yien ber nyalo bedo gi geno. Kosetong'e to nitie geno ni onyalo loth. Kendo chunye maloth manyien ok rem mak odongo. Kata obedo ni tiendene to kendo miyo osikene tho. To kata kamano, kiwinjo much pi, to oloth mana ka yien mochako dongo. Dhano to kendo Dhano to kendo ike e bwo lo. Oyueyo mogik. Kendo kare rumo chuth. Mana kaka pi duono e nam, kata kaka dier aora pi duone mituo. E kaka dhano nindo piny, kendo ok ochak ochung', ok ochak onen kendo, bende ok nochiewe e nindoneno. Madne ipanda ei liel mondo ne abed maonge nyaka chop mirimbi rum. Bang'e to iket kinde ma ibiro pare kendo. Ka ng'ato otho, bende dochak obed mangima kendo. Ndalona duto mag tichna matek abiro rito. An to abiro dil gi takruokna nyaka kinde maber chopi. Nyaka kinde maber chopi. Ibiro luongo kendo abiro duoki. Ibiro gombo neno chwech ma lweti osechwayo. Eka inikwan kuonde matienda onyono, to ok nisik kinona mondo ikwan richo ka richo matimo. Kedhoga ibiro kete ofuku mi din ma ok yawre, kendo inium richona. Mama kaka pi yuero got kendo barore, kendo kaka Luanda chorore, ka wuok kare, kendo kaka pi yuero kite kendo koth maduong', yuero lo kamano e kaka iketho geno madhano nigo. Ihewe dichiel kendo mogik, kendo olal nono. Iloko kit wang'e, kendo igole e dier ji chuth. Kata ka yawuote yudo duong' bang'e, to en okia kendo kata ka giyudo wichkuot, to ok one gi wang'e. Gima iwinjo en mana rem manie dende owuon kendo oywagore kende owuon.
Chapter 15. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, should a wise man answer with empty knowledge and fill himself with the east wind? Should he reason with unprofitable talk, or by speeches with which he can do no good? Yes, you cast off fear and restrain prayer before God. For your iniquity teaches your mouth, and you choose the tongue of the crafty. Your own mouth condemns you, and not I. Yes, your own lips testify against you. Are you the first man who was born, or were you made before the hills? Have you heard the counsel of God? Do you limit wisdom to yourself? What do you know that we do not know? What do you understand that is not in us? Both the gray-haired and the aged are among us, much older than your father. Are the consolations of God too small for you, and the words spoken gently with you? Why does your heart carry you away, and what do your eyes wink at, that you turn your spirit against God, and let such words go out of your mouth? What is man that he could be pure, and he who is born of the woman that he could be righteous? If God puts no trust in his saints, and the heavens are not pure in his sight, how much less man who is abominable and filthy, who drinks iniquity like water? I will tell you, hear me. What I have seen, I will declare. What wise men have told, not hiding anything received from their fathers, to whom alone the land was given, and no alien passed among them. The wicked man risks with pain all his days, and the number of years is hidden from the oppressor. Dreadful sounds are in his ears. In prosperity, the destroyer comes upon him. He does not believe that he will return from darkness, for a sword is waiting for him. He wanders about for bread, saying, where is it? He knows that a day of darkness is ready at his hand. Trouble and anguish make him afraid. They overpower him like a king ready for battle. For he stretches out his hand against God and acts defiantly against the Almighty, running stubbornly against him with his strong embossed shield. Though he has covered his face with fatness and made his waist heavy with fat, he dwells in desolate cities, in houses which no one inhabits, which are destined to become ruins. He will not be rich, nor will his wealth continue, nor will his possessions overspread the earth. He will not depart from darkness. The flame will dry out his branches, and by breath of his mouth he will go away. Let not trust in fruitful things, deceiving himself, for futility will be his reward. It will be accomplished before his time, and his branch will not be green. He will shake off his unripe grapes like a vine, and cast off his blossom like an olive tree. For the company of hypocrites will be barren, and fire will consume the tents of bribery. They conceive trouble and bring forth fruitility. Their womb prepares deceit.
Chapter 16. Then Job answered and said, I have heard many such things. Miserable comforters are you all. Shall words of wind have an end, or what provokes you that you answer? I also could speak as you do, if your soul were in my soul's place. I could heap up words against you and shake my head at you, but I would strengthen you with my mouth, and the comfort of my lips would relieve your grief. Though I speak, my grief is not relieved, and if I remain silent, how am I eased? But now he has worn me out. You have made desolate all my company. You have shriveled me up, and it is a witness against me. My leanness rises up against me and bears witness to my face. He tears me in his wrath and hates me. He gnashes at me with his teeth. My adversary sharpens his gaze on me. They gape at me with their mouth. They strike me reproachfully on the cheek. They gather together against me. God has delivered me to the ungodly and turned me over to the hands of the wicked. I was at ease, but he has shattered me. He also has taken me by my neck and shaken me to pieces. He has set me up for his target. His archers surround me. He pierces my heart and does not pity. He pours out my gall on the ground. He breaks me with wound upon wound. He runs at me like a warrior. I have sewn sackcloth over my skin and laid my head in the dust. My face is flushed from weeping, and on my eyelids is the shadow of death. Although no violence is in my hands and my prayer is pure. O earth, do not cover my blood, and let my cry have no resting place. Surely even now my witness is in heaven, and my evidence is on high. My friends scorn me, my eyes pour out tears to God. Oh, that one might plead for a man with God, as a man pleads for his neighbor. For when a few years are finished, I shall go the way of no return.
Chapter 17. My spirit is broken, my days are cut short. The grave awaits me. Surely mockers surround me. My eyes must dwell on their hostility. Give me, O God, the pledge you demand. Who else will put up my security for me? You have closed their minds to understanding. Therefore, you will not let them triumph. If anyone denounces their friends for reward, the eyes of their children will fail. God has made me a byword to everyone, a man whose face people spit. My eyes have grown dim with grief. My whole frame is but a shadow. The upright are appalled at this. The innocent are aroused against the ungodly. Nevertheless, the righteous will hold to their ways, and those with clean hands will grow stronger. But come on, all of you, try again. I will not find a wise man among you. My days have passed, my plans are shattered, yet the desires of my heart turn night into day. In the face of darkness, light is near. If the only home I hope for is the grave, if I spread out my bed in the realm of darkness, if I say to corruption, you are my father, and to the worm, my mother or my sister, when then is my hope? Who can see any hope for me? Will it go down to the gates of death? Will we descend together into the dust?
Chapter 18. The Bildad and Shuhite answered and said, how long till you put an end to words? Gain understanding, and afterward we will speak. Why are we counted as beasts and regarded as stupid in your sight? You who tear yourself in anger, shall the earth be forsaken for you? Or shall the rock be removed from its place? The light of the wicked indeed goes out, and the flame of his fire does not shine. The light is dark in his tent, and his lamp beside him is put out. The steps of his strength are shortened, and his own counsel cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walks into a snare. The net takes him by the heel, and a snare lays hold of him. A noose is hidden for him on the ground, and a trap for him in the road. Terrors frighten him on every side, and drive him to his feet. His strength is starved, and destruction is ready at his side. It devours patches of his skin. The firstborn of death devours his limbs. He is uprooted from the shelter of his tent, and they parade him before the king of terrors. They dwell in his tent who are none of his. Brimstone is scattered on his dwelling. His roots are dried out below, and his branch withers above. The memory of him perishes from the earth, and he has no name among the renowned. He's driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. He has neither son nor posterity among his people, nor any remaining in his dwellings. Those in the west are astonished at his day, as those in the east are frightened. Surely such are the dwellings of the wicked, and this is the place of him who does not know God.
Chapter 19. Then Job answered and said, how long will you torment my soul and break me in pieces with words? These 10 times you have reproached me. You are not ashamed that you have wronged me, and if indeed I have erred, my error remains within me. If indeed you exalt yourselves against me and plead my disgrace against me, know that God has wronged me and has surrounded me with his net. If I cry out concerning wrong, I am not heard. If I cry aloud, there is no justice. He has fenced up my way so that I cannot pass, and he has set darkness in my paths. He has stripped me of my glory and taken the crown from my head. He breaks me down on every side, and I'm gone. My hope he has uprooted like a tree. He has also kindled his wrath against me, and he counts me as one of his enemies. His troops come together and build up their road against me. They encamp all around my tent. He has removed my brothers far from me, and my acquaintances are completely estranged from me. My relatives have failed, and my close friends have forgotten me. Those who dwell in my house and my maidservants count me as a stranger. I'm an alien in their sight. I call my servant, but he gives me no answer. I beg him with my mouth. My breath is offensive to my wife, and I'm repulsive to the children of my own body. Even young children despise me. I arise, and they speak against me. All my close friends abhor me, and those whom I have loved turned against me. My bone clings to my skin and to my flesh, and I have escaped by the skin of my teeth. Have pity on me, all my friends, for the hand of God has struck me. Why do you persecute me as God does, and are not satisfied with my flesh? Oh, that my words were written, oh, that they were inscribed in a book, that they were engraved on a rock with an iron pen and lead forever. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and he shall stand at last on the earth. And after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God, whom I shall see for myself, and my eyes shall behold, and not another. How my heart yearns within me. If you should say, how shall we persecute him, since the root of the matter is found in me? Be afraid for the sword for yourselves, for wrath brings the punishment of the sword, that you may know that there is judgment.
Chapter 20. Zophar's response. Job, you upset me. Now I'm impatient to answer. What you have said is an insult, but I know how to reply to you. Surely you know that from ancient times, when man was first placed on earth, no wicked man has been happy for long. He may grow great, towering to the sky, so great that his herd reaches the clouds, but he will be blown away like dust. Those who used to know him will wonder where he has gone. He will vanish like a dream, like a vision at night, and never be seen again. He will disappear from the place where he used to live, and his sons will make good what he stole from the poor. His body used to be young and vigorous, but soon it will turn to dust. Evil tastes so good to him that he keeps some in his mouth to enjoy its flavor. But in his stomach, the food turns bitter as any poison could be. The wicked man vomits up the wealth he stole. God takes it back, even out of his stomach. What the evil man swallows is like poison. It kills him like the bite of a deadly snake. He would not live to see rivers of olive oil or streams that flows with milk and honey. He will have to give up all he has worked for. He will have no chance to enjoy his wealth because he oppressed and neglected the poor
and seized houses someone else had built. His greed is never satisfied. When he eats, there is nothing left over. But now his prosperity comes to an end. At the height of his success, all the weight of misery will crush him. Let him eat all he wants. God will punish him in fury and anger. When he tries to escape from an iron sword, a bronze blow will shoot him down. An arrow sticks through his body. Its shiny point drips with his blood, and terror grips his heart. Everything he has saved is destroyed. A fire not lit by human hand burns him and all his family. Heaven reveals this man's sin, and the earth gives testimony against him. All his wealth will be destroyed in the flood of God's anger. That is the fate of wicked men, the fate that God assigns to them.
Chapter 21 in Finnish. Job vastasi ja sanoi, kuulkaa minun sanojani ja suokaa minulle se lohdutus. Kärsikää minua, että saan puhua. Kun olen puhunut, pilkatkaa sitten. Ihmisiäkö vastaan minä valitan? Tahi kuinka en kävisi kärsimättömäksi? Kääntykää minuun, niin tyrmistytte ja panette käteenne suullenne. Kun käyn ajattelemaan, niin kauhistun ja vavistus valtaa ruumiini. Miksi jumalattomat saavat elää, vanheta, jopa voimassa vahvistua? Heidän sukunsa on vankkana heidän edessään, heidän jälkeläisensä heidän silmäinsä alla. Heidän kotinsa ovat rauhassa, kauhuista kaukana, ei satu heihin Jumalan vitsa. Hänen sonninsa polkee eikä turhaan, hänen lehmänsä poikii eikä kesken. Poikansa he laskevat ulos niin kuin lammaslauman, heidän lapsensa hyppelevät leikiten. He virittävät laulujaan vaskirummun ja kanteleen kaikuessa ja iloitsevat huilun soidessa. He viettävät päivänsä onnessa, mutta äkkiä heidät säikähytetään alas tuonelaan. Ja kuitenkin he sanovat Jumalalle, mene pois meidän luotamme, sinun teistäsi emme tahdo tietää. Mikä on kaikkivaltias, että häntä palvelisimme? Ja mitä hyötyä meille on siitä, että häntä rukoilemme? Katso, heidän onnensa ei ole heidän omassa kädessänsä. Jumalattomain neuvo olkoon minusta kaukana. Kuinkapa usein jumalattomain lamppu sammuu ja heidät yllättää heidän turmionsa? Kuinkapa usein hän jakelee arpausat vihassansa? Ovatko he niin kuin tuulen vietävät oljet, niin kuin akanat, jotka tuulispää tempaa mukaansa? Jumala muka säästää hänen lapsilleen hänen onnettomuutensa. Kostakoon hän hänelle itselleen, niin että hän sen tuntee. Nähköön hän perikatonsa omin silmin, juokoon itse kaikkivaltiaan vihan. Sillä mitä hän välittää perheestänsä, jälkeensä jäävistä, kun hänen kuukausiensa luku on täysi? Onko opetettava ymmärrystä Jumalalle, hänelle, joka taivaallisetkin tuomitsee? Toinen kuolee täydessä onnessansa, kaikessa rauhassa ja levossa. Hänen astiansa ovat maitoa täynnä, ja hänen luunsa juotetaan ytimellä. Toinen kuolee katkeralla mielellä, saamatta onnea maistaa. Yhdessä he panevat maata multaan, ja madot peittävät heidät. Katso, minä tunnen teidän ajatuksenne ja juonet, joilla mielitte sortaa minut. Kun katsotte, missä on nyt mahtimiehen talo, missä maja, jossa jumalattomat asuivat, niin ettekö ole kysyneet maita kulkeneilta? Ette voi kieltää, mitä he ovat todeksi nähneet, että pahaa säästetään onnettomuuden päivältä. Vihan päivältä hänet saatetaan suojaan. Kuka puhuu hänelle vasten kasvoja hänen vaelluksestaan? Kuka kostaa hänelle, mitä hän on tehnyt? Hänet saatetaan kalmistoon ja hänen hautakumpuansa vaalitaan. Kepeät ovat hänelle laakson turpeet. Kaikki ihmiset seuraavat hänen jäljessänsä, niin kuin epälukuiset ovat kulkeneet hänen edellänsä. Kuinka tuotte minulle niin turhaa lohdutusta? Entä vastauksenne? Niistä jää pelkkä petollisuus jäljelle.
Chapter 22 in French. Eliphaz de Théma prit la parole et dit, un homme peut-il être utile à Dieu? Non, le sage n'est utile qu'à lui-même. Si tu es juste, est-ce à l'avantage du Tout-Puissant? Si tu es intègre dans tes voies, qui gagne-t-il? Est-ce par crainte de toi qui te châtie, qu'il entre en jugement avec toi? Ta méchanceté n'est-elle pas grande? Tes iniquités ne sont-elles pas infinies? Tu enlevais sans motif des gages à tes frères. Tu privais de leurs vêtements ceux qui étaient nus. Tu ne donnais point d'eau à l'homme atterré. Tu refusais du pain à l'homme affamé. Le pays était au plus fort et le puissant s'y établissait. Tu renvoyais les veuves avides. Les bras des orphelins étaient brisés. C'est pour cela que tu es entouré de pièges et que la terreur t'a saisi tout à coup. Ne vois-tu donc pas ces ténèbres, ces eaux débordées qui t'envahissent? Dieu n'est-il pas en haut dans les cieux? Regarde les sommets des étoiles comme il est élevé. Et tu dis, qu'est-ce que Dieu sait? Peut-il juger à travers l'obscurité? Les nuées l'enveloppent et il ne voit rien. Il ne parcourt que la voûte des cieux. Et quoi? Tu voudrais prendre l'ancienne route qu'ont suivi les hommes d'iniquité? Ils ont été importés avant le temps. Ils ont eu la durée d'un torrent qui s'écoule. Ils disaient à Dieu, retire-toi de nous. Que peut-nous faire pour nous le Tout-Puissant? Dieu, cependant, avait rempli de bien leur maison. Loin de moi le conseil des méchants. Les justes, témoins de leur chute, se réjouiront, et l'innocent se moquera d'eux. Voilà nos adversaires qui disparaissent. Voilà leurs richesses dévorées par le feu. Attache-toi donc à Dieu, et tu auras la paix. Tu jouiras ainsi du bonheur. Reçois de sa bouche l'instruction et mets dans ton cœur ses paroles. Tu seras rétabli si tu reviens au Tout-Puissant, si tu éloignes l'iniquité de ta tente. Jette l'or dans la poussière, l'or d'Ophir parmi les cailloux des torrents, et le Tout-Puissant sera ton or, ton argent, ta richesse. Alors, tu feras du Tout-Puissant tes délices, tu élèveras vers Dieu ta face, tu le prieras et il t'exaucera, et tu accompliras tes vœux. À tes résolutions répondra le succès. Sur tes sentiers brillera la lumière. Vienne l'humiliation, tu prieras pour ton relèvement. Dieu secourt celui dont le regard est abattu. Il délivrera même le coupable qui devra son salut à la pureté de tes mains.
Job 23. Then Job answered and said, even today my complaint is bitter. My hand is listless because of my groaning. Oh, that I knew where I might find him, that I might come to his seat. I would present my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would know the words which he would answer me and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me in his great power? No, but he would take note of me. There the upright could reason with him, and I would be delivered forever from my judge. Look, I go forward. but he is not there. And backward, but I cannot perceive him. Where he works on the left hand, I cannot behold him. When he turns on the right hand, I cannot see him. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. My foot has held fast to his steps. I have kept his way and not turned aside. I have not departed from the commandment of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. But he is unique, and who can make him change? And whatever his soul desires, that he does. For he performs what is appointed for me, and many such things are with him. Therefore, I am terrified at his presence. When I consider this, I am afraid of him. For God made my heart weak, and the Almighty terrifies me, because I was not cut off from the presence of darkness, and he did not hide deep darkness from my face.
Why doesn't God set a time for judging, a day of justice for those who serve him? People move boundary stones to get more land. They steal sheep and put them with their own flocks. They take donkeys that belong to orphans and keep a widow's ox till she pays her debts. They prevent the poor from getting their rights and force the needy to run and hide. So the poor, like wild donkeys, search for food in the dry wilderness. Nowhere else can they find food for their children. They have to harvest fields that they don't own and gather grapes in the vineyards of the wicked. At night, they sleep with nothing to cover them and nothing to keep them from the cold. They are drenched by the rain that falls on the mountains, and they huddle beside the rocks for shelter.
Evil people make slaves of fatherless infants and take the children of the poor in payment for debt. But the poor must go out with no clothes to protect them. They must go hungry whilst harvesting wheat. They press olives for oil and grapes for wine, but they themselves are thirsty. In the cities, the wounded and die and cry out, but God ignores their prayers. There are those who reject the light. They don't understand it or go where it leads. At dawn, the murderer gets up and goes out to kill the poor, and at night he steals. The adulterer waits the twilight to come. He covers his face so that no one can see him. At night, thieves break into houses, but by day they hide and avoid the light.
They fear the light of day, but darkness holds no terror for them. The wicked are swept away by floods, and the land they own is under God's curse. They no longer go to work in their vineyards. As snow vanishes in the heat and drought, so sinners vanish from the land of the living. Not even their mothers remember them now. They are eaten by worms and destroyed like fallen trees. That happens because they ill-treated widows and showed no kindness to the childless women. God, in his strength, destroys the mighty. God acts, and the wicked die. God may let them live secure, but keeps an eye on them all the time. For a while, the wicked prosper, but then they will wither like weeds, like ears of corn that have been cut off. Can anyone deny this is so? Can anyone prove that my words are not true?
Chapter 25. Then Bildad and Shidhite answered, God's rules must be honored. He set up an order in his high heaven. No one can count God's armies. His light shines on all people, so no man can be good in the presence of God. No one born to be a woman can be pure. Even the moon is not bright, and even the stars are not pure in his eyes. Man is much less. He is like an insect. He is only a worm.
Chapter 26. But Job answered and said, How have you helped him who is without power? How have you saved the arm that has no strength? How have you counseled one who has no wisdom? And how have you declared sound advice to many? To whom have you uttered words, and whose spirit came from you? The dead tremble, those under the waters and those inhabiting them. Sheol is naked before him, and destruction has no covering. He stretches out the north over empty space. He hangs the earth on nothing. He binds up the water in his thick clouds, yet the clouds are not broken under it. He covers the face of his throne and spreads his cloud over it. He drew a circular horizon on the face of the waters at the boundary of light and darkness. The pillars of heaven tremble and are astonished at his rebuke. He stirs up the sea with his power, and by his understanding he breaks up the storm. By his spirit he adorned the heavens. His hand pierced the fleeing serpent. Indeed, these are the mere edges of his ways, and how small a whisper we hear of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand?
Chapter 27, reading in German. Hiob fuhr fort, das schwöre ich, so wahr Gott, der Allmächtige lebt, der mir mein Recht verweigert und mich bittere Stunden durchleiden lässt, solange er mir den Atem gibt, solange ich noch Leben in mir spüre, werde ich nie die Unwahrheit sagen. Kein betrügerisches Wort soll über meine Lippen kommen. Verflucht will ich sein, wenn ich euch jemals Recht gebe. Bis zum letzten Atemzug bleibe ich dabei. Ich bin unschuldig, ich bin im Recht und davon lasse ich nicht ab. Ich habe ein reines Gewissen. Wer mich verklagt, sich zu Unrecht gegen mich stellt, der soll schuldig gesprochen werden. Gott soll ihn mit vollem Recht verurteilen. Wer Gott verachtet, hat nichts mehr zu hoffen. Wenn seine Stunde schlägt, wenn Gott von ihm sein Leben fordert, wenn Angst und Schrecken ihn überfallen, wird Gott sein Schreien nicht hören. Denn an Gott hat er sich nie gefreut. Zu ihm zu beten, lag ihm fern. Ich will euch Gottes große Macht vor Augen führen und euch nicht verschweigen, was der Allmächtige tun will. Ihr habt es doch alle selbst gesehen. Warum redet ihr denn solchen Unsinn?
This is the portion of a wicked man with God, and the heritage which oppressors receive from the Almighty. If his children are multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring have not enough to eat. Those who survive him for pestilence buries, and their widows make no lamentation. Though he heap up silver like dust, and pile up clothing like clay, he may pile it up, but the just will wear it, and the innocent will divide the silver. The house which he builds is like a spider's web, like a booth which a watchman makes. He goes to bed rich, but will do so no more. He opens his eyes, and his wealth is gone. Terrors overtake him like a flood. In the night a whirlwind carries him off. The east wind lifts him up, and he is gone. It sweeps him out of his place. It howls at him without pity. He flees from its power in headlong flight. It claps its hands at him and hisses at him from its place.
Well done. Chapter 28. Surely there is a mine for silver and a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth and copper is smelted from ore. Man puts an end to darkness and searches every recess for ore in the darkness and the shadow of death. He breaks open a shaft away from people, in places forgotten by feet. They hang far away from men. They swing to and fro. As for the earth, from it comes bread, but underneath it is turned up as by fire. Its stones are the source of sapphires, and it contains gold dust. That path no bird knows, nor has the falcon's eye seen it. The proud lions have not trodden it, nor has the fierce lion passed over it. He puts his hand on the flint. He overturns the mountains at the roots. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eye sees every precious thing. He dams up the streams from trickling. What is hidden he brings forth to light. But where can wisdom be found? And where is the place of understanding? Man does not know its value, nor is it found in the land of the living. The deep says, "It is not mine," and the sea says, "It is not with me." It cannot be purchased for gold, nor can silver be weighed for its price. It cannot be valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious onyx or sapphire. Neither gold nor crystal can equal it, nor can it be exchanged for jewelry of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral of quartz, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. The topaz of Ethiopia cannot equal it, nor can it be valued in pure gold. From where then does wisdom come? And where is the place of understanding? It is hidden from the eyes of the living and concealed from the birds of the air. Distraction and death say, we have heard a report about it with our ears. God understands its way, and he knows its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth and sees under the whole heavens, to establish a weight for the wind and apportion the waters by measure. When he made a law for the rain and a path for the thunderbolt, then he saw wisdom and declared it. He prepared it, indeed he searched it out. And to man he said, behold the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding.
Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, Oh, that I were in months past, as in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when by his light I walked through darkness, as I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle, when the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me. When I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, the young men saw me and hid themselves, and the aged arose and stood up. The princes refrained talking and laid their hand on their mouth. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me. And when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me. Because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless and him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was a robe and a diadem. I was eyes to the blind, and feet was I to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not I searched out. And I brake the jaws of the wicked, and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. My glory was fresh in me, and my bow was renewed in my hand. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silence at my counsel. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped upon them. And they waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not, and the light of my countenance they cast not down. I chose out their way, and sat chief, and dwelt as a king in the army, as one that comforteth the mourners.
But now they mock at me, men younger than I, whose fathers I disdained to put with the dogs of my flock. Indeed, what profit is the strength of their hands to me? Their vigour has perished. They are gaunt from want and famine, fleeing late to the wilderness, desolate and waste, who pluck mallow by the bushes and broom tree roots for their food. They were driven out from among men. They shouted at them as at a thief. They had to live in the clefts of the valleys, in caves of the earth under the rocks. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they nestled. They were sons of fools, yes, sons of vile men. They were scourged from the land, and now I am their taunting song. Yes, I am their byword. They abhor me. They keep far from me. They do not hesitate to spit in my face. Because he has loosed my bowstring and afflicted me, they have cast off restraint before me. At my right hand, the rabble arises. They push away my feet, and they raise against me their ways of destruction. They break up my path. They promote my calamity. They have no helper. They come as broad breakers. Under the ruinous storm they roll along. Terrors are turned upon me. They pursue my honor as the wind, and my prosperity has passed like a cloud. And now my soul is poured out because of my plight. The days of affliction take hold of me. My bones are pierced in me at night, and my gnawing pains take no rest. By great force my garment is disfigured. It binds me about as the collar of my coat. He has cast me into the mire, and I have become like dust and ashes. I cry out to you, but you do not answer me. I stand up and you regard me, but you have become cruel to me. With the strength of your hand, you oppose me. You lift me up to the wind and cause me to ride on it. You spoil my success, for I know that you will bring me to death and to the house appointed for all living. Surely he would not stretch out his hand against a heap of ruins if they cry out when he destroys it. Have I not wept for him who was in trouble? Has not my soul grieved for the poor? But when I looked for good, evil came to me. And when I waited for light, then came darkness. My heart is in turmoil and cannot rest. Days of affliction confront me. I go about mourning, but not in the sun. I stand up in the assembly and cry out for help. I am a brother of jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin grows black and falls from me. My bones burn with fever. My harp is tuned to mourning, and my flute to the voice of those who weep.
Job chapter 31. Job defends his righteousness. I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I look upon the young woman? For what is the allotment of God from above? The inheritance of the Almighty from on high. Is it a destruction for the wicked and disaster for the workers of iniquity? Does he not see my ways and count all my steps? If I walk with falsehood, or if my foot has hastened to deceit, let him be weighed on honest scale, that God may know my integrity. If my steps has turned from the way, or my heart walk after my eyes, or if my sport adheres to my hand, then let me sow and another eat. Yes, let my harvest be rooted out. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or if I lack at a neighbor's door, then let my wife grind to another. Let others bow down over her. For that would be wickedness. Yes, it would be iniquity deserving of judgment. For that would be a fire that consumes to destructions and will not root out all my increase. If I had despised the cause of my male or female servants when they complain against me, what then shall I do? Where God rises up, when he punishes, how shall I answer him? Did not he who made me in the womb make them? Did not the same one fashion us in the womb? If I've kept the poor from their desire, or caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or eaten my morsel by myself, so that the fatherless could not eat of it. But from my youth I have reared him as a father, and from my mother's womb I've gathered the widow. If I've seen anyone perish from the lack of clothing, or any poor man without covering, if his heart has not been blessed, if his heart has not blessed me, and if he has not warmed me with the fleece of my sheep, if I've risen up my hands against the fatherless, when I saw I had help in the gate, then let my arm fall from my shoulders. Let my arm be torn from the socket. For destruction from God is a terror to me, and because of his magnificence, I cannot endure. If I had made gold my hope, or said to find gold, you are my confidence. If I had rejoiced because of my wealth was great, and because my hand had gained much, if I have observed the sun when it shines, or the moon moving in brightness, so that my heart has been secretly enticed, and my mouth has kissed my hand, this also would be an iniquity deserving of judgment. For I would have denied God who is above, if I had rejoiced at the destruction of him who hated me, or lifted myself up when evil found me. Indeed, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his soul. If the men of my tent have not said, who is there that has not been satisfied with his meat? But no surgeon has to lodge in the street, for I have opened my doors to the traveler. If I have covered my transgression as Adam did, by hiding my iniquity in my bosom, because I fear the great multitude and dread the contempt of families, so that I kept silent and did not go out of the door. Oh, that I had one to hear me. Here is my mark. Oh, that the Almighty would answer me, that my prosecutor have written a book. Surely I would have carried it on my shoulder and bind it on me like a crown. I will declare to him the number of my steps. Like a prince, I will approach him. If my land cries out against me, and its furrow weep together, if I had eaten its fruit without money, or caused its owner to lose their lives, then let thistles grow instead of wheat, and wheat instead of barley. The words of Job has ended. Thank you.
So these three men quit answering Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite from the family of Ram, became angry. He was angry at Job because he had justified himself rather than God. He was also angry at Job's three friends because they had failed to refute him and yet had condemned him. Now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because they were all older than he. But when he saw that the three men could not answer Job, he became angry. So Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite, replied, I am young in years while you are old. Therefore, I was timid and afraid to tell you what I know. I thought that age should speak and maturity should teach wisdom. But it is the spirit in a person, the breath from the Almighty, that gives anyone understanding. It is not only the old who are wise, or the elderly who understand how to judge. Therefore, I say, listen to me. I too will declare what I know. Look, I waited for your conclusions. I listened to your insights as you sought for words. I paid close attention to you. Yet no one proved Job wrong. Not one of you refuted his arguments. So do not claim we have found wisdom. Let God deal with him, not man. But Job has not directed his argument to me, and I will not respond to him with your arguments. Job's friends are dismayed and can no longer answer. Words have left them. Should I continue to wait now that they are silent, now that they stand there and no longer answer? I too will answer. Yes, I will tell what I know, for I am full of words, and my spirit compels me to speak. My heart is like the unvented wine. It is about to burst like new wineskins. I must speak so that I can find relief. I must open my lips and respond. I will be partial to no one, and I will not give anyone an undeserved title. For I do not know how to give such titles. Otherwise, my Maker would remove me in an instant.
Job 33 in Kikuyu. Ayubu rĩrĩa rĩu tathikĩrĩria mĩarĩrio yakwa, ta tega matũ ũigue ũrĩa wothe nguga. Ngũtũmũra kanua njarie kĩrĩa kĩrĩ ngoro yakwa. Ciugo ciakwa ciothe nĩ nginyanĩrĩru na ngwaria o matheri. Roho wa Ngai nĩguo wanyũmbire, na mwene hinya wothe akĩhe muoyo. No ũnjokerie ũngĩhota, kĩharĩrie ihoto ciaku. Maitho-inĩ ma Ngai we na niĩ nĩtũganaine. Ithuerĩ tũthondeketwo na rĩũmba, kwoguo ndũrĩ na gĩtũmi gĩa kwĩndigĩra. Ndigũkũhatĩrĩria, waria ngiugaga nĩndathikĩrĩria ũrĩa wothe woiga. Nĩndaigua woiga ndirĩ na mahĩtia na ndirĩ ũrĩa njĩkĩte. Ndĩ mũthingu na ndirĩ na wĩhia. No Ngai nĩacaragia ciĩgwatio nĩguo ahũre, na anyite ta thũ yake. Anjohete magũrũ na mbingo, na nĩambaraga ũrĩa wothe njĩkaga. Ayubu, ngũkwĩra hau nĩũhĩtĩtie, amu Ngai nĩ mũnene gũkĩra mũndũ o wothe. Ũragĩte Ngai nĩkĩ, atĩ ndacokagia mateta maku? Ngai aragia rĩmwe na njĩra ĩno, rĩrĩa rĩngĩ na njĩra ĩngĩ. Ona akorwo gũtirĩ ũmenyaga ũguo, rĩrĩa andũ marĩ toro, Ngai amaragĩrĩria na njĩra ya iroto na cioneki. Agatũma maigue ũrĩa arenda kuuga, na akamatigĩra rũũri rwa kũmakania. Ekaga ũguo atũme matigacoke gwĩka maũndũ moru, na atũme matigacoke gwĩtĩĩa. Ndagĩrĩkaga maganwo, na nĩamahonokagia kuuma gĩkuũ-inĩ. Ngai arũngaga andũ na kũmatũmĩra mĩrimũ, agakĩiyũria ruo mĩĩrĩ yao yothe. Andũ acio arwaru magakĩaga ciama cia irio, irio ona iria njega mũno igagĩtuĩka cia kũmairia ngoro. Mĩĩrĩ yao ĩgakĩhĩnja, ĩgathira, magagĩtuo o mahĩndĩ matheri. No rĩrĩ, mũraika wa kũmaarĩria, ũmwe wa arĩa ngiri na ngiri, no oke amaririkanie ũrĩa magĩrĩirwo nĩ gwĩka. Mĩĩrĩ ya andũ acio ĩgacokwo nĩ hinya rĩngĩ, ĩkahana o ta rĩrĩa marĩ ethĩ. 26. He shall pray to God, and he will delight in him. He shall see his face with joy, for he restores to man his righteousness. Then he looks at men and says, I have sinned and perverted what was right, and it did not profit me. He will redeem his soul from going down to the pit, and his life shall see the light. Behold, God works all these things, twice in fact, 3 times with a man, to bring back his soul from the pit, that he may be enlightened with the light of life. Give ear, Job, listen to me. Hold your peace, and I will speak. If you have anything to say, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify you. If not, listen to me. Hold your peace, and I will teach you wisdom.
Chapter 34. Then Elihu said, Listen to me, you wise men. Pay attention, you who have knowledge. Job said, The ear tests the words it hears, just as the mouth distinguishes between foods. So let us discern for ourselves what is right. Let us learn together what is good. For Job also said, I am innocent, but God has taken away my rights. I am innocent, but they call me a liar. My suffering is incurable, though I have not sinned. Tell me, has there ever been a man like Job? With his thirst for irreverent talk, he chooses evil people as companions. He spends his time with wicked men. He has even said, Why waste time trying to please God? Listen to me, you who have understanding. Everyone knows that God doesn't sin. The Almighty can do no wrong. He repays people according to their deeds. He treats people as they deserve. Truly, God will not do wrong. The Almighty will not twist justice. Did someone else put the world in his care? Who set the whole world in place? If God were to take back his spirit and withdraw his breath, all life would cease, and humanity would turn again to dust. Now listen to me. If you are wise, pay attention to what I say. Could God govern if he hated justice? Are you going to condemn the Almighty Judge? For he says to kings, you are wicked, and to nobles, you are unjust. He doesn't care how great a person may be, and he pays no more attention to the rich than to the poor. He made them all. In a moment, they die. In the middle of the night, they pass away. The mighty are removed without human hand. For God watches how people live. He sees everything they do. No darkness is thick enough to hide the wicked from his eyes. We don't set the time when we will come before God in judgment. He brings the mighty to ruin without asking anyone, and he sets up others in their place. He knows what they do, and in the night he overturns and destroys them. He strikes them down because they are wicked, doing it openly for all to see. For they turned away from following him. They have no respect for any of his ways. They cause the poor to cry out, catching God's attention. He hears the cries of the needy, but if he chooses to remain quiet, who can criticize him? When he hides his face, no one can find him, whether an individual or a nation. He prevents the godless from ruling, so they cannot be a snare to the people. Why don't people say to God, I have sinned, but I will sin no more? Or, I don't know what evil I have done. Tell me, if I have done wrong, I will stop at once. Must God tailor his justice to your demands? For you have rejected him. The choice is yours, not mine. Go ahead, share your wisdom with us. After all, bright people will tell me, and wise people will hear me say, Job speaks out of ignorance. His words lack insight. Job, you deserve the maximum penalty for the wicked way you have talked. But you have added rebellion to your sin. You show no respect, and you speak many angry words against God.
Chapter 35. Moreover, Elihu answered and said, Do you think this is right? Do you say, My righteousness is more than God's? For you say, What advantage will it be to you? What profit shall I have? No more than if I had sinned. I will answer you, and your companions with you. Look to the heavens and see, and behold the clouds. They are higher than you. If you sin, what do you accomplish against him? Or if your transgressions are multiplied, what do you do to him? If you are righteous, what do you give him? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your wickedness affects a man such as you, and your righteousness a son of man. Because of the multitude of oppressions, they cry out for help, because of the arm of the mighty. But no one says, Where is God, my Maker, who gives songs in the night? Who teaches us more than the beasts of the earth, and makes us wiser than the birds of heaven? There they cry out, but he does not answer. Because of the pride of evil men, surely God will not listen to empty talk, nor will the Almighty regard it. Although you say you do not see him, yet justice is before him, and you must wait for him. And now because he has not punished in his anger, nor taken much notice of folly, therefore Job opened his mouth in vain. He multiplies words without knowledge.
Chapter 36. Elihu continued, Bear with me a little longer, and I will show you that there is more to be said in God's behalf. I get my knowledge from afar. I will ascribe justice. Be assured that my words are not false. One who has perfect knowledge is with you. God is mighty, but despises no one. He is mighty and firm in his purpose. He does not keep the wicked alive, but gives the afflicted their rights. He does not take his eyes off the righteous. He enthrones them with kings and exalts them forever. But if people are bound in chains, held fast by cords of affliction, he tells them what they have done, that they have sinned arrogantly. He makes them listen to correction and commands them to repent of their evil. If they obey him, they will spend the rest of their days in prosperity and their years in contentment. But if they do not listen, they will perish by the sword and die without knowledge. The godless in heart harbor resentment. Even when he fetters them, they do not cry for help. They die in their youth among male prostitutes of the shrines. But those who suffer, he delivers in their suffering. He speaks to them in their affliction. He is wooing you from the jaws of distress to a spacious place, free from restriction, to the comfort of your table, laden with choice food. But now you are laden with the judgment due the wicked. Judgment and justice have taken hold of you. Be careful that no one entices you by riches. Do not let a large bribe turn you aside. Would your wealth or even your mighty efforts sustain you? Would sustain you so you would not be in distress? Do not long for the night to drag people away from their homes. Beware of turning to evil, which you seem to prefer to affliction. God is exalted in his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has prescribed his ways for him or said to him, you have done wrong? Remember to extol his work, which people have praised in song. All humanity has seen it. Mortals gaze on it from afar. How great is God, beyond our understanding. The number of his years is past finding out. He draws up the drops of water, which distill as rain to the streams. The clouds pour down their moisture, and abundant showers fall on mankind. Who can understand how he spreads out the clouds, how he thunders from his pavilion? See how he scatters his lightning about him, bathing the depths of the sea. This is the way he governs the nations and provides food in abundance. He fills his hands with lightning and commands it to strike its mark. His thunder announces the coming storm. Even the cattle make known its approach.
Chapter 37. At this also my heart trembles and leaps out of its place. Keep listening to the thunder of his voice and the rumbling that comes from his mouth. Under the whole heaven he lets it go, and his lightning to the corners of the earth. After it his voice roars. He thunders with his majestic voice, and he does not restrain the lightnings when his voice is heard. God thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things that cannot comprehend. For to the snow he says, fall on the earth. Likewise, to the downpour, his mighty downpour. He seals up the hand of every man, that all men whom he made may know it. Then the beasts go into their lairs and remain in their dens. From its chambers comes the whirlwind, and cold from the scattering winds. By the breath of God, ice is given, and the broad waters are frozen fast. He loads the thick clouds with moisture. The clouds scatter his lightning. They turn around and around by his guidance to accomplish all that he commands them on the face of the habitable world. Whether for correction or for his land or for love, he causes it to happen. Hear this, O Job. Stop and consider the wondrous works of God. Do you know how God lays his commands upon them and causes the lightning of his clouds to shine? Do you know the balancing of the clouds, the wondrous works of him who is perfect in knowledge, whose garments are hot, when the earth is still because of the south wind? Can you like him spread out the skies, hard as cast metal mirror? Teach us what we shall say to him. We cannot draw up our case because of darkness. Shall it be told to him that I would speak? Did a man ever wish that he would be swallowed up? And now no one looks on the light when it is bright in the skies, and the wind has passed and cleared them. Out of the north comes golden splendor. God is clothed with awesome majesty. The Almighty, we cannot find him. He is great in power, justice and abundant righteousness. He will not violate. Therefore, men fear him. He does not regard any who are wise in their own conceit.
Out of the whirlwind and said, who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now prepare yourself like a man. I'll question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determines its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? To what were his foundations fastened? Or who laid its cornerstones? Where the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Or who shut in the sea with the doors, when it burst forth and issued from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment, and thick darknesses its swaddling band? When I fixed my limit for it, and set bars and doors? When I said, this far you may come, but not farther, and here your proud waves must stop? Have you commanded the morning since your days began, and caused the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it? It takes on form like clay under a sill, and stands like a garment. From the wicked their light is withheld, and their upraised arms is broken. Have you entered the springs of the sea? Have you walked in the search of the depths? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Have you seen the doors of the shadows of death? Have you comprehended the breadth of the earth? Tell me if you know all these. Where is the way to the dwelling of light, and the darkness where its place, that you may take it in its territory, that you may know the paths to its home? Do you know it because you were born then, or because the number of your days is great?
Have you ever visited the storerooms where I keep the snow and the hail? I keep them ready for times and trouble, for days of battle and war. Have you been to the place where the sun comes up, or the place from which the east wind blows? Who dug a channel from the pouring rain and cleared the way for the thunderstorm? Who makes rain fall where no one lives? Who waters the dry and thirsty land so that grass springs up? Does either the rain or the dew have a father? Who is the mother of the ice and the frost, which turns the waters to stone and frees the face of the sea? Can you tie the Pleiades together, or loosen the bonds that hold Orion? Can you guide the stars season by season and direct the great and little bear? Do you know the laws that govern the skies, and can you make them apply to the earth? Can you shout orders to the clouds and make them drench you with rain? And if you command the lightning to flash, will it come to you and say, at your service? Who tells the ibis when the Nile will flood? Or who tells the cock that the rain will fall? Who is wise enough to count the clouds and tilt them over to pour out the rain, rain that hardens the dust into lumps? Do you find food for lions to eat and satisfy hungry young lions when they hide in their caves or lie in wait in their dens? Who is it that feeds the ravens when they wander about hungry, when their young cry to me for food?
Chapter 39. Do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear young? Or can you mark when the deer gives birth? Can you number the months that they fulfill? Or do you know the time when they bear young? They bow down, they bring forth their young, they deliver their offspring. Their young ones are healthy, they grow strong with grain. They depart and do not return to them. Who set the wild donkey free? Who loosed the bonds of the onager? Whose home I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling. He scorns the tumult of the city. He does not heed the shouts of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. Will the wild ox be willing to serve you? Will he bed you by your manger? Can you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes? Or will he plough the valleys behind you? Will you trust him because his strength is great? Or will you leave your labor to him? Will you trust him to bring home your grain and gather it to your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich wave proudly, but are her wings and pinions like the kindly stork? For she leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust. She forgets that a foot may crush them, or that a wild beast may break them. She treats her young harshly, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain, without concern, because God deprived her of wisdom and did not endow her with understanding. When she lifts herself on high, she scorns the horse and its rider. Have you given the horse strength? Have you closed his neck with thunder? Can you frighten him like a locust? His majestic snorting strikes terror. He paws in the valley and rejoices in his strength. He gallops into the clash of arms. He mocks at fear and is not frightened, nor does he turn back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glittering spear and javelin. He devours the distance with fierceness and rage, nor does he come to a halt because the trumpet has sounded. At the blast of the trumpet, he says, "Aha!" He smells the battle from afar, the thunder of captains and shouting. Does the hawk fly by your wisdom and spread its wings toward the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command and make its nest on high? On the rock it dwells and resides, on the crag of the rock and the stronghold. From there it spies out the prey. Its eyes observe from afar. Its young ones suck up blood, and where the slain are, there it is.
Chapter 40 in French. L'Éternel demanda alors à Job, « Celui qui intente un procès au Tout-Puissant a-t-il à critiquer? Celui qui conteste avec Dieu a-t-il quelque chose à répondre? » Job répondit alors à l'Éternel, « Je suis trop peu de choses, que te répliquerai-je? Je mets donc la main sur la bouche. J'ai parlé une fois et je ne répondrai plus. Et j'ai même insisté une deuxième fois et je n'ajouterai rien. » Alors, du sein de la tempête, l'Éternel dit à Job, « Mets la ceinture comme un brave. Je vais te poser des questions et tu m'enseigneras. Veux-tu vraiment prétendre que je ne suis pas juste? Veux-tu me condamner pour te justifier? As-tu un bras tel que celui de Dieu? Ta voix peut-elle égaler mon tonnerre? Va te préparer d'honneur et de grandeur et revêt-toi de splendeur et de gloire. Répands les flots de ton indignation et d'un regard courbe tous les hautains. Que ton regard les fasse plier tous, les criminels, écrase-les sur place. Dans la poussière, va les enfouir ensemble. Enferme-les dans la nuit du tombeau. Alors, moi-même, je te rendrai hommage, car ta victoire sera due à ta main. Regarde donc l'hippopotame, je l'ai fait comme toi. Comme le bœuf, il se nourrit de l'herbe. Vois quelle force réside dans sa coupe. Vois quelle vigueur dans ses muscles des flancs. Sa queue, il l'a raidie, solide comme un cèdre, et les tendons sont tressés dans ses cuisses. Ses os ressemblent à des barreaux de bronze. Son ossature a des barres de fer. C'est le chef-d'œuvre de Dieu, son Créateur, qui lui impose le respect par le glaive. Les monts produisent son fourrage. Là où s'ébattent les animaux sauvages, il dort sous les lotus, sous les couverts de roseaux du marais. Il est couvert par l'ombre des lotus. Les peupliers l'entourent près des cours d'eau. Si la rivière se déchaîne, il ne s'en émeut pas. Si le Jourdain se jette dans sa gueule, il reste néanmoins serein. Va-t-on prendre la face découverte et l'entraver en lui perçant le mufle? Iras-tu prendre avec ton hameçon le crocodile? Vas-tu lier sa langue avec ta ligne? Lui mettrais-tu un jonc dans le naseau parce que d'un crochet, sa mâchoire, il t'adressera-t-il de nombreuses supplications? Te dira-t-il des gentillesses? Conclura-t-il une alliance avec toi? Le prendras-tu pour un serviteur à vie? Joueras-tu avec lui comme un oiseau? Le liras-tu pour amuser les filles? Des associés le mettront-ils en vente? Le partageront-ils entre des commerçants? Vas-tu cribler des dards de sa carapace? Vas-tu barder sa tête de harpon? Attaque-le et tu te souviendras de ce combat. Tu n'y reviendras plus.
Can you pull in the Leviathan with a fishhook or tie down his tongue with a rope? Can you put a cord through his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he keep begging you for mercy? Will he speak to you with gentle words? Will he make an agreement with you for you to take him as your slave for life? Can you make a pet of him like a bird or put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders barter for him? Will they divide him up among the merchants? Can you fill his hide with harpoons or his head with fishing spears? If you lay a hand on him, you will remember the struggle and never do it again. Any hope of subduing him is false. The mere sight of him is overpowering. No one is fierce enough to rouse him. Who then is able to stand against me? Who has a claim against me that I must pay? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I will not fail to speak of his limbs, his strength and his graceful form. Who can strip off his outer coat? Who can approach him with a bridle? Who dares open the doors of his mouth, ringed about with his fearsome teeth? His back has rows of shields tightly sealed together. Each is so close to the next that no air can pass between. They are joined fast to one another. They cling together and cannot be parted. His snorting throws out flashes of light. His eyes are like the rays of dawn. Firebrands stream from his mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from his nostrils as from a boiling pot over a fire of reeds. His breath sets coals ablaze, and flames dart from his mouth. Strength resides in his neck. Dismay goes before him. The folds of his flesh are tightly joined. They are firm and immovable. His chest is hard as a rock, hard as a lower millstone. When he rises up, the mighty are terrified. They retreat before his thrashing. The sword that reaches him has no effect, nor does the spear or the dart or the javelin. Iron he treats like straw and bronze like rotten wood. Arrows do not make him flee. Sling stones are like chaff to him. A club seems to him but a piece of straw. He laughs at the rattling of the lance. His undersides are jagged potsherds, leaving a trail in the mud like a threshing sledge. He makes the depths churn like a boiling cauldron and stirs up the sea like a pot of ointment. Behind him, he leaves a glistening wake. One would think the deep had white hair. Nothing on earth is his equal, a creature without fear. He looks down on all that are haughty. He is king over all that are proud.
Then Job replied to the Lord, I know that you can do anything and no one can stop you. You asked, Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorance? It is I, and I was talking about things I knew nothing about, things far too wonderful for me. You said, listen and I will speak. I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. I had only heard about you before, but now I have seen you with my own eyes. I take back everything I said, and I sit in the dust and ashes to show my repentance. After the Lord had finished speaking to Job, he said to Eliphaz the Temanite, I am angry with you and your two friends, for you have not spoken accurately about me, as my servant Job has. So take 7 bulls and 7 rams and go to my servant Job and offer a burnt offering for yourselves. My servant Job will pray for you, and I will accept his prayer on your behalf. I will not treat you as you deserve, for you have not spoken accurately about me, as my servant Job has. So Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite did as the Lord commanded them, and the Lord accepted Job's prayer. When Job prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes. In fact, the Lord gave him twice as much as before. Then all his brothers, sisters, and former friends came and feasted with him in his home, and they consoled him and comforted him because all of the trials the Lord had brought against him. And each of them brought him a gift of money and a gold ring. So the Lord blessed Job in the second half of his life even more than in the beginning. For now he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 teams of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also gave Job 7 more sons and 3 more daughters. He named his first daughter Jemima, the second Keziah, and the third Keren Happuch. In all the land, no women were as lovely as the daughters of Job, and their father put them into his will along with their brothers. Job lived 140 years after that, living to see 4 generations of his children and grandchildren. Then he died, an old man who had lived a long, full life.